to episode 72 of the J Bunny's Music Hub podcast. I'm your host, J Bunny. Well, everybody, joining me today on the show is Ryan Shuck, the former guitarist for the bands Orgy and Dead by Sunrise, also the guitarist and vocalist for the band Julien-K, and vocalist for the band Adema. It was great to have Ryan on the show. We met back in April at the Dark Side of the Con and talked about having him on the show. And it just it took a while to get there, but it was such a great conversation that I really think that you guys are going to enjoy. So without further ado, here's Ryan. What's up, everybody? It is J Bunny. I am once again here at home on Skype. It's a little early in the day, and I have work later, so I'm not drinking any beer from Ghost Talk Brewery in Clifton, New Jersey. But you should still check out their shit because it's awesome. Joining me today is Ryan Shuck from a whole bunch of bands that we'll go over the course of the interview. How's it going, Ryan?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not really caring for the heat. I know it's summer, and I know that it comes with the territory, but I just feel like it's been hotter lately, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, how's that heat wave?
Yeah, not fun. Charlie was gonna try and join us today, but they're outdoors in PA for 2 weeks, and I can't imagine being outside that long.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was so hard out there on tour. I mean, the heat and the humidity was just off the charts. I mean, it was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. It was definitely a little worse than I remembered it. But I know we're going through an unprecedented, heat wave, and I know that's affecting most of the country. Even here in LA, I live right by the beach, and it's pretty perfect. But we are experiencing higher humidity than I've ever experienced here. I mean, yesterday was 80% humidity. The good news is that it was only about 80 degrees. So, that's.
Yeah, and I'm sure it doesn't, I know when we just saw you play at Dingbats with Adema, and my understanding is the day before that show, their AC broke. So it was pretty brutal in there for that show.
Yeah, it is hard, with those clubs too that don't have, they don't have a backstage at all. They don't have anywhere for the bands to kind of collect themselves and have just a little bit of respite from the, from the touring, which is essentially being uncomfortable 24 hours a day is touring. So if you can go someplace that, has a proper place to sit down and collect yourself and, recover a little bit, it's just, really, really awesome. But yeah, when you go to a place like Dingbats, it's just a really, really small venue with just a small room with no AC. I mean, holy Moses. I mean, it's absolutely incredibly, it's very difficult for the bands.
Yeah. No, I love it. On one hand, I love that place because it's so intimate, but at the same time, I understand where you're coming from, not from a band standpoint, but even just doing the podcast, when I go and do podcasts there with bands that are coming through the area, we've either got to go on their vehicle or in my vehicle or sometimes across the street at the bar across the street, Dingo's Den, just try and find somewhere quiet. And we always end up with cars driving by, or a couple times I tried to do interviews inside Dingbats, and we'd get sound check noise or people walking up trying to talk to the person while I'm interviewing them. It's a challenge.
I honestly have been, I always try to figure out should I bring a pop-up easy up, with a little roof and some curtains and just set it up outside, these places, because it's just there's just absolutely nowhere to sit down. And just take a second. And it's just, that's the hardest part of doing small tours is just when you play these places where there's just nowhere to breathe. You go to some other small venues and we went to another small venue. It was really, really hard as well, but they at least put a curtain up so you could sit behind it.
Right.
I was actually very thoughtful because, the bands don't, once that place fills up to capacity, and you have no place to go, it's really, really difficult for the band.
Right, because then everybody can see you, and while I'm sure that you don't mind interacting with the fans, at the same time, it's nice to be able to just fucking breathe for a second.
You're a lead singer. You can't face talk people who are, 5-6 beers deep for 6 solid hours every night. It's the most dangerous thing you can do as a singer. You might have noticed that, Jared from Head PE, and he's gone. He's not even there. You know what I mean? He's not around. There's no talking to fans. There's nothing. And it's basically, I think that the people that are that experienced and are maybe more in a headliner position, they are not around, because they have to protect the fact that they have to sing.
Right.
So we love to talk to everyone, of course. I mean, it's make a big point of spending time with the people that support us. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm really trying to figure out if we, continue to play. We also play big dates too, so that's a different deal. But if we're going to do, small tours like this because they make sense, I'm definitely trying to figure if there's an REI solution to my urban camping, trips that we're taking with the band. Some way to set up our own separation so that the lead singer can gain a little bit of rest and recovery before and after playing. It's just an incredible situation.
Yeah, I know when I had booked an interview with Texas Hippie Coalition, and they had their tour bus thing. It wasn't quite a bus, but they had their vehicle at Dingbats, but their singer, they had like dropped him off at a hotel room.
Yep.
And so I did an interview with the rest of the band, and then their singer was back at the hotel until like right up before they were going to play.
Yep. It's the smartest thing to do for the singer. It makes you look like an asshole, but you're in most cases, they're not being an asshole. They're trying to make sure you can do the show.
Right.
And it's unfortunately, it's just one of those things where, at these venues, absolutely, the singer's the one that people make a beeline for.
Right.
And I'm not necessarily expecting them to like have a clue that you can't destroy that guy. You can't get in his face and face talk him and 17 people, talking to you in different directions. And it's, it's never ending. You can't, we can't even walk around the corner of the building. You can't, it's insanity. Yeah. So it is very good to get the singer the fuck out of there. The guitar players and stuff, I was the guitar player singer in Orgy, which is at the time was an extremely big band. And, I could still party and have fun and hang out with people because I didn't have to carry the lead singing, but I sang 40% of the time in that band, and just the fact that I had breaks up there made a huge difference. So I think the guitar player, drummer, all that kind of stuff, they can get away with a little bit more. They can drink and have a good time and hang with everyone and yell at a bar, but the singer can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't yell. You can't. It's definitely there's a reason why a lot of singers seem a little crazy, and it's because the job is so physical. You have to be really, really careful, but it's tempered with the fact that you actually want to like talk to people and hang out and do this stuff. But if you do, you can pay a price that you can't recover from on that tour, and it's extremely defeating to go up there and not be able to sing. It's one of the things it's extremely hard to get over.
Right. Now you mentioned Orgy, and that was when I first became aware of you, was in '98 when the Blue Monday cover came out, was getting airplay on MTV. And I just wanted to know a bit before we kind of get into Orgy and into all that about, your journey in music to that point. It looks like if, Wikipedia is to be believed, and that has steered me wrong before, but it says that you were in a band called Sexart with Jonathan Davis from Korn and Dave DeRue from Adema.
Yeah, so my Wikipedia is surprisingly accurate. It's kind of shocking. So yeah, I was in a band. My first band was called Sexart, and it was with Jonathan and Dave. And so, it's an interesting thing that we've been together for 30 years, that friendship. And obviously the friendship with Jonathan, when he finally left and did Korn, Korn didn't really have any songs yet. So they played Blind, which we wrote, which Jonathan and I wrote. And they invited me to come see them play, just as friends. And I went and saw them play in LA. And I saw what happened when they played Blind. And I was just like, holy shit, this is serious. This is serious music. And we hadn't really had the opportunity yet to see what the weird music we were making in Bakersfield, what it would actually do to a real audience. And, because we just had our little friend audiences in Bakersfield. And it was pretty serious. And that ended up becoming my first experience with selling millions and millions of albums and owning a piece of that publishing. And then Jonathan came back and signed Orgy to Elementree Records, which was a subdivision of Warner Brothers and Reprise Records. And so he's always been there for me. and always been, amazing. And obviously Jonathan's little brother, Marky, was a singer for Adema, and, Jonathan helped, teach Marky and all that kind of stuff back in the day. And that's probably fallen apart quite a bit because Marky's, really not been a great person and hasn't really respected the art and the fans and the band, and, obviously isn't doing it anymore at all. Just doesn't seem to care. But, Dave, Jonathan, and I have remained friends for 30 years.
Yeah, so I was going to ask like way later, but since you mentioned Mark, the Adema seems to have a bit of a tumultuous relationship with him, where every few years it seems like he's trying to come back. They book a show, they book a tour, then all of a sudden he's gone again. You're the singer of Adema now, you're their fifth singer. Have they indicated that, if he tries to come back again, that they might give him another shot, or is this lineup it? Is this the band at this point?
Oh, no, there's not a chance. No. I own this. There's no option for that. No, not at all. I tried to put it together with Marky. That's how I ended up accidentally offering or accepting their kind of plea for some, hey, will you come in and sing for us for a tour? And it just turned out so well that I kept doing it. No, there's no chance. Unfortunately, Marky's jumped in, told him that he's going to do it, and then he's jumped out and pulled the plug on too many big tours, on too many good things, and it's damaged the band so badly. These guys will go play. If they get a tour offer, the guys will do it. They'll do it at the drop of a dime. And you have a situation with Marky where he continually pulls the carpet out from under the band, and all they've wanted is for a singer to have his shit together. I happen to be that guy. The multiple singers they've had have not had their shit together. And they haven't had the experience that I've had, and they haven't had the vision or the management or the things that I bring to the table. And I think that the performance of the two singles are evidence, proof that, Amir and I know what the fuck we're doing. They're performing better than any of the singles they've released on major labels with any of the past singers, and they're performing on par with the original Adema stuff. So, I have all the numbers because I am the record label, and it's doing really, really well. So that, for me, that was sort of like the indicator of whether or not I should keep doing it or not. But no, I don't think there's a chance in hell these guys would ever do anything with Marky again. Most of the fans, I think, get it. The fans that don't get it, it's just, unfortunately, you're missing someone that doesn't like you.
Yeah.
You're missing someone that does not care about whether or not you supported him, and that, I've been in a situation with a singer like that, and it pisses me off. And I want to fix those situations. I don't want my friends to be in a situation where they're an incredible band. They've worked their entire lives to achieve what they've achieved, and they have the carpet pulled out from under them over and over and over by a spoiled brat. I don't like that. I don't like it. And if I'm going to get involved, I'm going to make it awesome, and I'm going to be solid.
Right. So we're going to get back to the Adema stuff shortly, but I wanted to kind of work our way there. Like I said, I just wanted to throw that one at you because it was topical with what you had mentioned. So with Orgy, you mentioned you guys were on Elementree, Korn's label, and that seems to stem from your previous relationship with Jonathan. Now in 2003, while you were still in Orgy, you and Amir started Julien-K. Can you tell me how that came together? How you guys decided to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a situation that's similar to what Adema was dealing with. We had a singer that wasn't showing up to the studio, wasn't showing up to work, wasn't making meetings. It was just completely MIA, dealing with his own shit. And we were continually in the studio still as Orgy, writing songs, and wishing that we had a singer. Here we are, a multi-platinum band that has the world at our fingertips, and we couldn't get the guy to just show up and do the thing that we do that makes tons of money. And that was extremely frustrating. So Amir and I, as the band, the band just kind of, a year or two passed of us just showing up and writing music with no one there to finish the band. Amir and I just kind of, we slowly just decided that we weren't going to waste money in the studio anymore as Orgy, and we all kind of stopped going to the studio and stopped spending all this money for these nice studios, all this kind of stuff. And Amir and I just started building our own studios at home and recording, continuing to record. And I think that we never thought that it would be Julien-K. I think that we just kind of figured we'd keep writing music, and maybe when Jay decided he wanted to do Orgy, we could, be able to do that again. And Chester Bennington, my best friend and Amir and I's, closest buddy, was really encouraging me. He heard the music and he was just like, dude, you need to be the singer. You're not going to find another singer, and Jay is not going to come around. Like, he's just, it's been a couple of years. He's like, you just need to sing on this. And I fought it for a long time because I didn't think I wanted to be the lead singer, and we were looking for singers. And then we thought maybe Julien-K could be like a DJ situation where me and Amir could do original music and we could DJ. And there was some experimentation in that. But what ended up happening was I sang on a song for Sega hired us to do some Sonic the Hedgehog music. And, it paid well and everything. And we were just like, oh, let's just see what happens. I'll just sing this like story idea that they gave me. And so I wrote lyrics to the story, and we didn't intend for it to be anything. It was just going to be in the video game. But it sounded, even though it was kind of like not exactly me, it did sound like an actual singer. It sounded like a lead singer. And so we kept going, and we wrote Someday Soon and a couple other tracks that really sounded like something. And we started getting label offers, and we're like, oh, fuck, here we go. We're like not even a band. And we kind of kept writing and messing with it, and Chester kept encouraging me and guiding me vocally. And around the same time as we started to really flesh out what was becoming Julien-K, we ended up forming Dead by Sunrise with Chester, which is essentially Julien-K, with him singing,
right,
and with him being the main writer. So during this, summer, years and years ago, we all lived together at my house. Chester lived here, everyone lived here, and Amir lived one block over because he bought a house next to mine. And we recorded both albums and wrote both albums. And that's kind of how you have this like kind of brotherhood and kind of working, friendship and relationship with Chester, and Dead by Sunrise and Julien-K and all that good stuff. And it just became, Linkin Park ended up taking us out on Project Revolution. So that was very real. We were on the main stage, and it connected. We made a bunch of fans. And then after that, we got Evanescence. And then after that, so it was a bunch of stuff, just started happening. And lo and behold, years later, we were like, wow, I'm the singer of a completely new band. And that's kind of how it started.
Okay. So in between starting Julien-K and all that, you guys did release another Orgy record, Punk Static Paranoia, and then went on hiatus in 2005. The question I was going to ask is, what was the cause? Is it safe to assume, based on what you said before, that it was just Jay not wanting to do the thing?
Yeah, we were all down to do it. I mean, we would have kept it. That album was really not a great representation of Orgy. Jay really wanted to do heavy music and screaming, and Amir and I really wanted to double down on the what we thought was the core sound of Orgy. And now you get another glimpse into what created Julien-K, because we wanted to accentuate the Depeche Mode and accentuate the electro. And Jay wanted to go way more Korn and heavier and all this kind of stuff. And we were like, yeah, I just don't feel like that's the right move, Right. But regardless, we kind of tried, and that's where you get Punk Static Paranoia, just this kind of schizophrenic, kind of, not, in my opinion, not a great interpretation of Orgy, because the stuff the band wanted to do was we really wanted to do core Orgy, and if Orgy if we ever got back together again, which is impossible at this point, but I would always recommend you go back to album 1 and rediscover what it was that made that amazing. And obviously you can make things newer and, do modern interpretations, but you've got to keep your core elements. And that's the same thing I told Adema. I was like, you guys have to listen to album 1 and 2, live. We're going to play albums 1 and 2. Because we're going to let the fans know that we remember why you like the band. So I understand there's been other singers. I understand that there's other albums. I understand there's other good songs, but I don't really give a fuck. We have to do the things that put you guys on the map. You have to reassure everyone that I can sing them the right way, and that and that Adema is still Adema. And then with the new Adema songs, Ready to Die, Violent Principles, and the ones that people haven't heard, you know, there's a deep focus on album 1 and 2 and Bakersfield and what made the band in the first place, and what sounds and stuff were they using that gave it that signature. And so I pushed them to think like that. And that's how we got these 2 singles that work so well.
So that kind of ties into 2 other things that I was going to ask you. I'll ask the Adema one first. You already kind of answered that it is, you know, that you guys are really focusing on the original stuff, the sort of the Mark era of the band plus the new stuff. I noticed that the third album, Planets, that is available on Spotify, but the Kill the Headlights and Topple the Giants are not available. Is that intentional? Is that label stuff? Is there a reason that stuff isn't out there?
It's label stuff. The guys have been through, you know, loads of different scenarios and different types of label things. And I think the house is a mess. And part of my job has been, you know, coming in and cleaning up a lot of it. But some of that stuff I don't own and I wasn't part of. So it's not really anything I can do a lot about. You know, from a label perspective, it's kind of ridiculous that it isn't there, you know, but it is what it is. You know, I don't know what I can do about it. I know that it would be great if it was there. It'd be good for the band, but those are 2 different labels with 2 different scenarios. And I honestly, I do not understand why they're not up, because it doesn't help the label.
Right.
It's just shoddy business. And now you kind of, you know, it leads into why we haven't signed a label deal right now. It's not because we haven't got offers. It's because when you do this, the next, you know, 13, 14 songs that we write, it's going to be owned 100% by a company that we don't have any control over. And right now, the songs we've released, we have 100% control over them. And we've gotten them playlisted on major playlists. We've done everything like a major label does. My small little label has gotten done. And you're never going to have a situation where it's not going to show up places. You're never going to have a situation where, you know, I can't make a phone call and fix something. You know, you're never going to have a situation where the fans are wondering what the fuck is happening with this stuff. You know, it's really fucking annoying. You know, there's nobody I can call. Hey, why aren't these things up on Spotify? Oh, oops. You know, it's honestly, it's fucking ridiculous. And I'm not going to sign a deal with anyone that doesn't allow me to, you know, fix these issues, that, you know, that isn't going to help us do things that we can't do on our own, you know. And a lot of these labels right now, they're not offering deals like that. They're basically offering you a little bit of money. They own your music in perpetuity and they promise you nothing. And my answer to that is fuck no. no, thank you. You know, so you're going to give me what, 40 grand, 30 grand to do an album. Well, I've got 30 grand, 40 grand. So thanks a lot. I mean, I'd prefer not to spend it on an album, but so I've already got that covered. So what else are you going to do? You're going to own our shit forever in return for what? Are you going to get us on like some major festivals all over the world in the next 2 years? Oh, no, you're not going to promise that or even try? Okay. Are you going to do some incredible marketing spends that I couldn't do on my own? Oh, no, we're not going to put that in writing. Oh, okay, well, fuck you. Are you going to, you know, I don't know, you're going to like tour support the band so we can get over to Europe without, you know, spending, you know, 17 grand just on the flights? Oh, you're not? Oh, okay, well, fuck you. What are you going to do then? You know, so these are the things that bands need to ask themselves when they're looking for record deals and trying to figure out what they're going to do. You know, if not, you should just do a deal with like a company like Framework, you know, where we're not going to take everything in perpetuity. We're also not going to loan you a bunch of money, but, you know, but we do have a system that helps you, you know, get the music out and deal with it and promote it, you know. So when I joined the band, it was initially thinking, you know, we would get a big deal because the band, you know, it sold 1 million albums. So they're in the running to get deals. And the idea was when Ryan joins, you know, we're going to get this stuff to happen. Well, indeed we got the offers, but I'm looking at all of them and I'm just going like, guys, you know, look what we're doing on our own. I just don't know if I can sign this. I just don't know if I can do this, you know. And that's kind of how we are, you know, brings us back around to where we are now, you know, doing things on our own and just, you know, making sure we don't have a situation like they've had with, you know, Kill the Headlights and, you know, Topple the Giants, where these albums are just MIA. Like, what? what in the actual fuck?
All right, and then the other thing that sort of branched to that previous question, and it's sort of the last thing about orgies. So in 2012, Jay brought Orgy back with an all new lineup. He said he was doing so because the rest of the band members were, quote, too busy with other projects. You and Amir released responses at the time that strongly refuted that claim. It's been 10 years now. I know you said before that you don't think that the chances are high of ever getting back together with that original lineup, and I kind of feel like maybe the feeling may be mutual on the other side. I had Jay on the show a couple of years ago, and he said he thought the new lineup was better.
Unfortunately, the fans don't agree.
Right.
No one's buying tickets, so people vote with their wallets and their attendance. So, that's the problem. Unfortunately, fans don't really agree.
Right. I mean, I will say I've seen them a couple times with the new lineup. It was good to see them live because I had never seen the band before. You guys actually played the same festival. We were at the dark side of the con. You guys played Friday. Orgy played Sunday. Yeah. They put on a good show, but
unfortunately, you still haven't seen the band.
Right.
It's nothing like wait. Yeah, experience what the actual band was, and it's a whole different world. Trust me. But yeah, I mean, they can play shows where there's a bunch of fans already there. That works, but their shows on their own aren't working.
Right.
That's the problem. So.
Right. I did notice, not to pile on or whatever, but I did notice before when they had announced they were doing the dark side of the con, they had announced a tour, and September Morning, who was also at Dark Side of the Con, was supposed to be touring with them. And then I noticed that they were still at Dark Side of the Con, but none of those other tour dates seemed to materialize, and all the announcements about them disappeared from the internet.
Correct. Now you know what I'm saying. So that's the problem. The fans aren't agreeing, unfortunately, and that's why it's far less likely that there could be some sort of a reunion. Is A, Jay doesn't like the original band, and B, the brand's been diminished significantly. So unfortunately now there's not ticket sales to go with it. There used to be sellout shows, back to back. But now there's, tours announced and disappearing, and European tours announced and disappearing, and there's a reason why. And so that's pretty deadly, for a brand, So I wouldn't want to get into that situation. Right now we're in a situation with Julien-K and Adema where, we announce shows and we go do them and people come. And, every show is not perfect and amazing, but, Julien-K and Birthday Massacre just did a run where we sold out 50% of the dates. I mean, that's really, really good. Most of the dates for the new metal madness sold well. And we're on a good path. And it's important that when you announce dates and shit that you have to go do them. You can't do that.
Right.
It's not a business where you can do that kind of stuff.
Now, as far as Julien-K, it seems like you guys have been pretty prolific in the music that you've released. When I looked you guys up on Spotify, which it's so weird for me to even say that sentence, just because I've always been sort of, anybody that knows me and listens to the show, I'm always about buying the music and not really about streaming. And, Charlie, who you met with me at Dingbats, had said to me, listen, you might not like it, but it is what it is. You can either help the band, because clicks and plays on Spotify and saving and shit is what helps the bands these days. So you can, if your mission is to help the bands, you can shut the fuck up about the fact that you don't like it and just do it because it's going to help in some way. So it's weird for me to even say, yeah, I was looking on Spotify, but I was looking on Spotify and you guys seem to have a lot of stuff on there, Julien-K. I was just wondering how, if at all, the process of making the Julien-K music, the creative process, differed from making the Orgy music.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We actually write in very much the same way, but we're not dysfunctional. We know what we want to do. We know that we've got to put music out. We know that we need to stay on brand. We know that not putting music out and just kind of, just coasting is not an option. So, the band is pretty unified in that regard. Whereas, with Orgy, definitely that was not really a thought. That was not, it was very frustrating for us. The issue with Julien-K at this point is we're so fucking busy, between touring, between me now being in Adema, Amir's, pretty busy producer and mixer, and we still do Julien-K. I at one point owned 5 restaurants as well. It's a fucking crazy life. That's why we refuted. We were doing Dead by Sunrise, Julien-K, 5 restaurants, and we put out 7 albums. And I was like, yeah, we have time. We can do Orgy. We can do the biggest one. You know what I mean? When you have a chance to get the original band back together, that's like you put everything else on hold. You just go, yeah, we'll go do that because that pays 20 times more. But it's just a ridiculous idea. So yeah, Julien-K, I would say for a long time we didn't really know how to release our music properly. We didn't really know how to, when you have the amount of material that we have, we put out a 4-disc kind of special thing called Time Capsule, and we created it, crowdfunded it on Indiegogo, which we do a lot of our campaigns like that. We've raised like $150,000 directly from our fans, which is bigger than any modern record deal. Once we were done with it, we would just put it out, the whole thing. And we've learned now that is, being a label now and releasing things the way we release them now, we've learned that that's the fucking dumbest thing you can possibly do. And honestly, sometimes I want to pull all the music back down and re-release it the right way. And the right way is you need to be releasing music regularly and releasing singles. You can still release an album, but you need to release a series of singles first. You need to, keep the momentum going, capture the algorithms of all the streamers, and then you can create a variety of different release packages. So you can actually create physical albums, vinyl. You can have a full album with all the artwork and all that kind of crap, but you can also, piece out the releases for a while and actually play off the fact that modern streaming, modern music, the modern music world works differently. And if you don't catch on to that, then you can have fun, imagining things are different than they are, but they aren't. You
Right.
have to understand that this is the way things are working now. And you have to look at the parameters, look at the way things work, and then figure out how you can do what you want to do within that, and how you can play it, how you can stretch it and fuck with it and make it exciting. But the game has always been, and this is something that Orgy had for a little while, when we had a whole label behind us and we had management kind of pushing it, and the band was kind of firing on all cylinders for a little bit. But once changes started to occur and, different people started kind of really trying to push exercise power and all that kind of stuff, and management kind of left and all that kind of stuff, you can see it just kind of ground to a halt. Well, what we've learned is that it's about being a storyteller. You have to take your fans on a compelling and authentic journey. Adema has to do it. Julien-K has to do it. We all have to do this. And you have to figure out what that means for you. And to tell a story, you don't read a couple pages and then close the book for a fucking year and a half. You don't do that. You fucking keep going, and you have to keep telling the story. With today's capability, that means you use video, you use digital, photography and graphics, you use posts, you use forms of blogging, you use albums, you use singles. You know what I mean? So we are capable of creating videos that are really good on our own. We can create albums, we can create singles. We have a team that can do art and all that kind of stuff. So it's up to us to continue to tell the story and continue to move this thing forward. And you have to take people on a journey. And if you don't do that, sorry.
Fair enough. So that kind of ties us into another question. It's sort of the signature question that I ask anybody that's on the show. You've touched on it a bit for sure, but how do you feel about the current state of where the music industry is? Where streaming is sort of the dominant way that people consume music. Nobody really buys music anymore. There's still illegal downloading happening, although probably not as much as there used to be because of the streaming. I mean, everyone says that they don't have to pay for the music because, well, bands make all their money playing shows anyway.
Yeah. I think it's a net positive, to be honest with you. The only way it used to work in the old way was if you signed a major record deal and a label worked your stuff. Today, the idea of making the money that like an Orgy made and stuff is not as likely, for sure. But if you're intelligent and you understand how to use all the tools that you have now, I really think you can do a lot of the stuff on your own. And it's a big deal for me to say that, because I've been, I drank from the fountain of the old way. I get what it's like. I've been there. I know what it's like to get like $1 million. I understand what that is. I get what it's like to split $1 million up 5 ways. It's pretty cool. But you can do so much now, and there's so much at your fingertips. And if you're crafty, if you're intelligent, and you really understand what it is to be an artist, and you understand that you have to figure out ways to connect with people, you can really use what's available now to create a life for yourself as an artist. It's not easy, but it was never easy. So I think it is what it is. There's things that obviously worked for me in the old system. I would say that it's probably things that didn't work more than it worked, for other people. I mean, I know a lot of people who signed to major labels, and labels just shelved the music. They literally just said, this is just not, good bands, cool bands, and that happens. It still happens.
I would say that's happening now with, like, I'm sure you saw the thing with Warner Brothers just saying, nope, we're not going to put out that Batgirl movie. That's done.
Right. So if you do things on your own, that's definitely not going to happen. Now, granted, you have to figure a lot of shit out, but, I'm not as understanding of that, because we came from a situation that was the literal old world. We were extremely successful MTV radio artists, and we kind of had it all crumble for a lot of reasons. And yeah, I'm still that guy. We still have fans, and I'm grateful for that, but we had to go back in and figure out, how in the fuck do you rebuild this from nothing? And to this day, we have to sit down and get on YouTube and watch how to do things. We have to, something new happens, and we have to dive in and figure out how it works. And we have to go make mistakes, and we have to do things that we regret, and we have to do things that are successful. You have to fucking figure it out, and you have to be honest with yourself. And, there's a lot of bands that are just straight up delusional. I meet them all the time, and they're doing music, and they wish they had this, they wish they had that, but some of the stuff they're doing just isn't very cool, or it's not whatever. You got to figure out what's going to resonate, otherwise it's a hobby. And some people don't want to hear that. We've figured out a way that works for us, where we make music that our fans like, that we also like. So that's the way that I figure it out. I go, what makes our fans really happy that also makes us happy? Now, there's also music that we would like to make that no one would give a shit about. But, we're not doing that. But there's a lot of, bands out there that are making music that no one gives a shit about. So you've got to figure that out. You know what I mean? You've got to figure that out. That's a big deal. And it's not easy. It's not easy.
Now, I wanted to just circle back real quick. You mentioned Dead by Sunrise, which was, your Julien-K plus Chester Bennington. You guys put out the album Out of Ashes in 2009. And I'd seen in interviews where Chester had said he could see, that it wasn't supposed to be a one-off thing, and releasing new music every 5 years or so. But nothing else came out before, he took his own life in 2017. Were there any moves between like 2010 and 2017 to try and get that band back together and do more?
Yeah, we talked about it often. And in fact, my last conversation with Chester, we were talking about it. And he was, in the mode of like, let's do this. But the thing is, we always knew from the beginning that Chester's in Linkin Park.
Right.
It's one of the biggest bands in the world, if not arguably like one of the top 10. And we all knew that, that's got to happen. We can't do Dead by Sunrise at the cost of LP.
Right.
In addition, we're in our own touring entity. We had our own thing going too. And that's what we always imagined would work really well about Dead by Sunrise is that you didn't have these, four guys that were just, hey, Chester, we need to make money. You gotta don't do this LP tour because we need to go out with Dead by Sunrise because we all need to make $100,000, or whatever it is. We're not up his ass doing that. What we're doing is saying, hey, when we have time in between, because Linkin Park has to take a break sometime. Well, Julien-K has to take a break sometime. And that would be the time where we get together and we do Dead by Sunrise, or he does Grade A's, or he does, the different stuff that he liked to do. He had a big appetite, and he actually really wanted to do rock music. And that's kind of why we did Dead by Sunrise, because he had songs that just weren't working with the direction that Linkin Park was going.
Right.
And we were like, well, we think they're really good songs. Why don't we help you do them? And he was super happy about that. So that's what it was about. And it was also about friendship, and being together and doing music with, some guys that, we were both fans of each other's bands. We were fans of each other's work. He was a huge Orgy fan. He was a huge Julien-K fan. And we're, obviously huge Linkin Park fans. So, and huge fans of Chester, just his singing, his voice. And he was fans of like our songwriting, guitar playing, my singing. So it was just a chance to do stuff with the people that you really dig.
Right.
The fact that the album actually sold hundreds of thousands of copies and, we got to play all over the world. Like that was all super cool stuff. But, initially it wasn't really about that.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that record. And I will say that like, it was great to hear like, being a fan of like the earlier Linkin Park and then not being as much of a fan of where they went. Save for one album, their second to last album. And it was cool to hear him kind of getting back to that. I can say the same thing about when he did after he passed, a song came out that he had done with Mark Morton from Lamb of God for Mark's solo record. And that was such a good fucking song.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's fucking amazing. And that's the way we felt too, is that we want him to be able to express, all the different sides that he feels like he has inside of him. And he's such an incredible singer. He really could do the stuff with us and then walk right into a Linkin Park session and do Linkin Park and walk right out of there and do, that stuff he did with Mark. And he's just that incredible. And he's got all that, he had all that in his throat, in his chest. He just had the ability to do that. And it wasn't that difficult for him. He wanted to sing every day.
Right.
Whereas with me, I can tell you, like, I get worn the fuck out. Like I don't want to sing every day. After an Adema tour, I feel like someone, fed me crushed glass.
Yeah.
And that's I'm probably a little bit more of a normal singer. Chester's a fucking mutant. He was incredible. And I used to tell him, it was really funny because he's also the cutest, sweetest, most incredible dude ever and the best friend that I could have ever asked for. We would call him, remember Unbreakable, the M. Night Shyamalan movie?
Yeah.
There's Mr. Glass. And we would call him Mr. Glass because we're like, you're like this mutant throat. Like that's your superpower. And this motherfucker would trip on a Lego and like miss shows in China because he fucking hurt his back, or he would go to try to shoot a hoop and break his ankle, or like, I mean, it's just, he would walk out. I remember he went out after Dead by Sunrise, he went out on tour with Linkin Park and they had the big set and these stairs, and the first show he goes to walk down the stairs and falls down and breaks his wrist. And he called me. He's like, dude, I fucking broke my wrist. And I'm like, oh my God. On the first song, he's all, yes. And I go, what did you do? He's all, I finished the show. And I'm like, God, you are just a fucking goober. Like, like your voice is fine. You made it through and you broke your goddamn wrist. Like, you're just a ding dong. And it's just so funny. And that's just total Chester. I mean, it's just, it's so funny.
So speaking of injuries, how's your leg? I know after the Dingbat show, you were limping around a bit.
It's fine. I have a lot of injuries from all sorts of shit. I'm an alcoholic, and I used to, I drank every day for, probably 20 fucking years, and I would drink every night on stage, and I'm a super physical performer. And when I'm not on tour, I train with a, private trainer, and I train jujitsu as well. And I do a lot of shit, and I'm a physical person. And, when you're on stage drunk every night, crushing it, you do everything you can do. I've broken both my heels, both my feet on stage. I've broken, at the same time. Yeah, just from like jumping and, all this kind of stuff. I came home from tour and had to wear, moon boots for fucking months. It was a nightmare. And I tore my meniscus, my knee. I've done a lot. I've gotten in fights and broken my entire faceplate. So I have trouble breathing. I've broken my fingers. I've broken my fucking ribs in jujitsu. I've broken my fucking, I've earned every mile, and it's just some days, I'm sober now, and I'm probably even more physical than ever on stage. And I just walk off sometimes almost unable to walk. It's just so hard. And again, when you're in a dingbat situation and there isn't a place to sit down, you just, unfortunately, everyone can see that the damage is there, so the stuff that's going on with my knee and the stuff that's going on with my back and things like that are, they're just chronic, progressive injuries and stuff that are going to be a problem, because I have to make the performances physical. I just think it's how you participate with the audience. You know what I mean? I see singers go up there and, essentially just stand there and sing. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. You can sing. That's cool. But can you sing and burn 800 calories at the same time? That's a whole other deal. And that's where you look at the Chesters and the Jonathans or the me or the guys that are up there bringing it for the entire fucking show. And you go, wow, that's professional athletics. And, any basketball player, football player, lead singer, from Mick Jagger on down to a Chester Bennington, to a Ryan Shuck, to a Jonathan Davis, there is a price. I just decided, I'm here to use my gifts, and that's what it looks like. So that's the price. I'm gonna hurt. I'm gonna limp, and then when I get home, I'm gonna try to work it out.
So far, Adema has released 2 new singles since you've joined the band. We talked a bit about how the sort of approach to music has changed a bit. So where is this going as far as, are you guys going to keep doing singles? Is there plans for an EP or a full album at some point?
Yeah, here's what we're going to do. We tested the market. God, I sound like a fucking record label or a business guy. Yeah, funny enough, weirdly enough, like if I couldn't sing, I probably would just be a business owner, because, that's probably what I'm the best at. But unfortunately, I'm cursed with the music bug. So I put myself in all these situations where I destroy my body and get in front of people and risk embarrassing myself. But so what we did was we worked really, really hard to try to get some songs we thought really were what represents the band, what we're excited about, and what the fans we think would be excited about. And we tested the market a bit by releasing Ready to Die. Well, the song was essentially, for like an indie band, it was a hit. It just, every single metric it just overperformed. And we did a full video, and we kind of showed what I look like with the band, how I actually sound, like you can really hear my voice. I did some like full on screams that I think a lot of people didn't know that I could do. Well, of course I can do it. I just did different music with my career because I wanted to be different. Right. But put in that format, of course I can do all that shit. And so I think that it really excited fans because they got to hear a different side of me. They got to hear Adema the way it should be. And then we took a chance, and we went out and we kept going back and forth with songs, and we released Violent Principle, which is more melodic. It's definitely more along the lines of, it's a lot more of me meets Adema. It's a lot more of Giving In. It's a lot more of like their melodic kind of hits. Well, that did better than anything. And that gave me the confidence to just say, look, I think I know what I'm doing. I think the fans like what we're doing together. And now I think I know the path to creating an album and doing more singles. So the idea now is, because we're not going to sign a record deal, we're going to crowdfund the album. So, hey buddy, I'm doing an interview, so you got to stop barking. There's a cute cat. There's a Sphinx hairless cat that cruises through my yard. His name's Tom Riddle. and he's super cute, and he just comes in my house and hangs out with me. But him and Wolf are buddies, so they bark at each other.
Okay.
So the idea is we're going to do what Julien-K has done, and we're going to crowdfund the album. So we have some more singles that are ready, but I think I'm going to save them for when we drop the Indiegogo campaign, and we're going to see how it does. I think that Adema fans will come to the table and help us make this album. And if I'm wrong, then it is what it is. But I think I'm right. I think if the band follows my prescription that we've used in Julien-K, which is sort of like opposite of the Orgy model that they're doing right now, and opposite what all these bands are doing, and that's authenticity, being true to the brand, being true to the music that made people love the band, and delivering on that. And also making sure that when people spend the money, they get a product, right? Not in 4 years, like they start getting new good music. You know what I mean? So that's what we've been doing in Julien-K, and I think that that's what we're going to do in Adema. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see if we do really well. If we do really well, then an album will be forthcoming. If we don't do really well, then it'll just take us longer because we're going to have to figure out how to play and make the money and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's a good plan. There will definitely be some more singles, but at some point here, the band is going to get together and finish the album. The album is called 360 Degrees of Separation. There's actually already an album design, a cover. There's a whole concept behind it. And the 2 singles that are out right now will be on the album, and they are indicative of the way the music will sound.
All right. And then just the last thing that I've got to ask you is, so far this year I've seen you live with both Julien-K and Adema. What is like immediately next for you? Is there more touring, more music, something else with some other band or venture that we haven't mentioned at all yet?
I think the pressing issue for me is to finish the Indiegogo campaign for Adema. Both Adema and Julien-K have dates coming up. Adema has a date, a one-off at a festival in Illinois on the 19th. We have another date here in California, another festival in September. Julien-K has some, I think it would be announced by next week if we decide we can do it. There's a collection of dates that are on the kind of like Texas over to the West Coast. And then in between that, the bands really need to record music. So that alone is a lot of stuff. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Well, I can't wait to see all of it. I look forward to all of it. I hope to see you on the road again. It was great to see, Julien-K for the first time this year at the Dark Side of the Con. They just announced the dates for next year's festival, as well as their new name, which is the Dark Force Fest. I don't know if you guys are looking into playing that again, but I'd love to see you.
I think we would. We did really well at that festival. I mean, I think that people were pretty like, oh wow, because we bring our own production and everything, and I think it's definitely, us and Birthday Massacre kind of dropped a bomb. I would think they would invite us back, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know that they, like I said, they just made all of the sort of just preliminary announcements of, hey, the tickets are on sale, hey, the hotels are on sale, hey, here's our new name, and here's applications for vendors and bands if you're interested in being involved. But they haven't actually announced any of the bands yet. I guess they said that they've signed some, but haven't made any of those announcements yet. But looking forward to it. I had a lot of fun last time.
I did too. I thought it was awesome. It was a super fun thing to do.
And that was where you and I got to first meet. So made it extra special.
Awesome.
So, but all right, man, that's all I've got for you. I want to thank you for your time, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, brother. Great to finally do it, and I appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, man, for sure. You'll see me out there. I that's how I spend any of my free time, is going to shows, because like I said, I do this because I want to support the scene. I want to help people discover stuff that they might not be aware of, give people the backstory if they give a shit to hear it. This is why I do what I do. I'm not a musician myself, but I have such a love for the art form, that I want to help support it in any way I can.
Awesome.
Swamp and nothing simple made sense.
And that song was Julien-K featuring The Annex with Desperation Day. I want to thank Ryan for being on the show. If you want to follow him and his projects on social media, you can follow Adema on Facebook at Official Adema, on Twitter at Adema Official, and on Instagram at Adema Music. You can follow Julien-K on Facebook and Twitter at Julien-K, and on Instagram at Julien-K Official. And if you want to follow Ryan directly, you can follow his Instagram at The Real Ryan Shuck. You can also follow J Bunny's Music Hub on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search J Bunny's Music Hub. Don't forget, we also now have a TikTok. Haven't done a whole lot with that. Like I said, I'm kind of leaving that up to Charlie. I keep saying I feel like I'm a bit old and leaving the TikTok into the youth. Charlie is the youth. So hopefully we'll get some more stuff on there. And don't forget, also guys, J Bunny's Music Hub also has a Patreon. If you are so inclined to subscribe, just look for J Bunny's Music Hub on Patreon. And also don't forget, if you believe in supporting music the way that I do by buying it, don't forget to tweet or post your music purchases to @IndustryEmbers with the hashtag BuyMusic, B-U-Y, or it's BuyMusic, B-Y-E. Now, as for what's next for the show, I do have one more interview that is booked and should be recording that in a couple weeks. Got a couple of emails out for things I'm looking to book. Emails into me, as always, things looking to be booked. So, as always, lots going on and just trying to squeeze it all in with life seemingly becoming busier. Who'd have thought that, buying a fucking house would end up taking up so much of your goddamn time? But like I tell you guys all the time, I'm not gonna let this die. I'm gonna do it as I have the ability to do so. So keep your eyes and ears out. Hopefully there will be more involvement from Charlie in the future. I do believe that they will be joining me for the next episode. So, like I said, keep your eyes and ears out for that if you liked the episodes that we did, the roundtable episodes. And I think that is about all that I've got for you guys today. I'm going to leave you with the latest standalone single from Adema featuring Ryan as their new vocalist. This is Violent Principles. Until next time, guys.